Rangers Journal Day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rangers Journal for another post-match show, we could call it. I'm Radian from the Albanian football page, and as you know, I've been watching Rangers for the last couple of months, ever since my player Nedim Baralmi was signed here, and I'm joined by Scott.
How you doing? Yes, a disappointing night. Rangers never done enough to win the game. So many things that we've seen happen so many times, particularly away from home, and just disappointing. It's I think you get a wee bit of progress, some shoots of positivity across recent weeks, and some signs of football and movement and flexibility and moving into different positions. We never really saw any of that at all tonight at any point. Just a very, very poor performance with only a couple of players coming out with any credit, to be honest.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think you're spot on with everything you're saying there. Personally, I think this is the type of game that is simply not allowed to lose because you've just lost a cup final, but there was some sort of positive atmosphere going around anyway because it was a good performance in the final, and you've also had some very good performances in recent week, and that's why people were thinking if we can win these two games and then go to the Old Firm game with something to play for and claw it back to 6 points, it might be just something to hold on to. So yeah, I mean,
see the thing, Reddy, and I had a conversation after Celtic dropped 2 points at Dundee United. A lot of Rangers fans got a bit excited. Celtic had dropped 2 points. They were looking ahead to the game on the 2nd of January, and I basically said we have two very tricky away fixtures. Our away form and away performances have been bang average all season. We need to deal with St Mirren, and we then need to deal with Motherwell before you can even worry about playing the game on the 2nd of January. But we just revert to type, and it's just they say a different day, same movie, to be honest.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I also saw a lot of people who were only talking about the 2nd of January. But of course, you have to win also your bread and butter games because those are the ones that accumulate the most points at the end of the day. And I think Rangers, as a side, have been struggling away from home. We can say it like that. So yeah, was it too surprising? Maybe not, but I think in recent weeks with the wins against Ross County and Kilmarnock and, beating also Dundee without even playing the best of football, I think people were maybe thinking that Rangers were at another level, that they had finally surpassed that block. But it seemed like today it was just straight back to the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I can understand to a point the change. We'll go back to the start of the game and the team selection. I know your man. You've wanted him to play in the number 10 position. For me, it's either Hadji or him that play in the team. I wouldn't play both. I think Igaman and Danilo have shown enough to, when both are fit and available, they both start. So for me, I think that had not blaming Hadji and Bajrami at all, but I just think the balance is helped when it's one or other, particularly in an away game like that tonight. But too often we were poor in possession, sloppy, too reliant on just playing long balls over the top. I think the commentary spoke about it. That's what St Mirren, that's what any team, without being disrespectful, these teams are operating on shoestring budgets. And the way that these teams don't like is get them moving about, get them dragged into areas that they don't want to be playing. We've got supposedly better players, but you need to show the effort and the intensity and play with a tempo. I am very old school, and I think that why take 5 touches when 3 would do? I think we take too long in possession. We go from side to side. We throw hopeful crosses in, and then we'll play a long ball over the top. It's very easy to defend against, and I think the first half was just abysmal. And the goal that we lost was horrendously bad in so many levels. Defensively, the line of the back four, the goalkeeper comes out clearly suffering as a new father, a bit of baby brain. I have absolutely no idea what Jack Butland was doing, and he's late and he catches him, and it's a penalty kick every day of the week. But Rangers' first half performance was abysmal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I'll totally agree because I also think the first point you're making about Baram and Hadji, yes, I think you need to have a left winger who is actually a left winger. I think it's been a problem for Rangers for a long time. It used to be my man Bayrami playing out there, and I wasn't really too happy about it. Now Bayrami is actually playing the 10, but he's still not really doing what he needs to do because I think today he played one of the worst first halves I've seen from him in many years. I genuinely cannot remember a time where I see him play this bad, and it was simply due to the fact that I feel like his effort wasn't actually there. And I think it was a bit of a theme with the whole team where they were just walking around, just doing sloppy things, as you say, 5 touches, 6 touches, just to do the simple things right. And that's just so easy to play against for a team like St. Mirren, who can just sit back, absorb the pressure, if you even want to call it that, because there was not much of that in the first half, and then just play on their terms. I think it's wrong to do that when you go to these type of places. But speaking about the lineup, do you think the only mistake was the Hadji and Bayrami, or do you think there was other mistakes in the lineup?
Well, I've not heard what the rationale behind Nico Raskin not starting. Certainly, he's been in a rich vein of form, and he showed a tempo when he came on at half time, and that's not a criticism of Connor Barron. Connor Barron's had a good season to this point, but unless there was an injury or an illness or a reason why Raskin couldn't start, you've got enough time between games. I think I can understand the rationale of playing Balogun because the big guy up front was a handful, and but see, to go on to that comment, Raskin is a booking away from missing the Old Firm game.
Yeah,
it goes back to what I just said. We need to deal with the game in front of us.
Yeah.
You can't look 3 games ahead and think, oh, if Nico Raskin gets booked tonight, he misses the Celtic game. What happens if you lose against St Mirren and you lose against Motherwell? The Celtic game is meaningless, to be perfectly honest with you. So I get this protecting the player, but I don't buy that one at all. Just because you're a booking away, I think trust the player. If the player gets himself booked, then it's the player's fault that he misses the Old Firm game. If that is in fact the reason, I just think that's we're limited. We don't have Dujon Sterling. We're asking him to play centre half. Proper obviously had to come on because Balogun picked up the injury. That looked like an Achilles stroke calf problem. I don't think we're going to see Balogun. I think you're going to go into the Celtic game with Sterling and Proper as your centre defence. Yeah. You're going to have to go to Motherwell with those two as your centre of defence. Never mind deal with the game on Sunday before we even worry about coming up against the attacking threat of them on the 2nd of January. But we're lacking in so many areas. You know, there's been, as I say, there's been small shoots of progress, but we're bang average in so many positions. A weak spine. I am a broken record with regard to it, Redian. We're a million miles off what a Rangers team should be. It's pretty grim, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Simply due to the fact that Rangers are a team who should be contending to be champions every season. Simply shouldn't be sitting here talking about second place, third place, or what they can do in these type of scenarios. A champion team should always play the next game like it was the last one. So I completely agree. I think it's a bit too much to only think about the Celtic game and then just shy away from St. Mirren and Motherwell and all these other teams. Because a champion team needs to perform week in, week out, every 3 days. It doesn't matter the circumstances. And I think today the lineup was a bit too risky in regards to the fact that it was too much rotation and too much change. And I think it cost because now the Celtic game loses a bit of meaning. If that was the only thing in their minds, now where do you go from now?
I just think, Reddy, and you lose. There was a slight bit of feel-good factor and an element of positivity without going overboard, starting to come back. You were starting to see small signs of different styles, movements, so on and so forth, that actually did look as though there was a plan. But
Yeah.
I think what's saying there, the first 15 minutes of the second half, we get the goal. And then we didn't. What I didn't really understand is we didn't really go for the throat. You've got yourself back into a position. You allow St Mirren to make substitutions, regroup, get themselves back into the game. It just wasn't, and it's 1-1 going into the last 5-10 minutes, and there was no like throwing the old throw the kitchen sink at it to try and get 3 points. It almost looked as though we had settled for a
Yeah, it's true.
we had settled for the draw, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean it's true because you could clearly see it. You put on Danilo and Raskan as you mentioned, and the game changes a bit. Danilo has been in great form. Raskan has been in great form, and the team tries more, puts more effort in, and actually puts some pressure on St. Mirren, pinning them all the way back to their penalty box, which was maybe the first time in the whole game, that first 50 minutes of the second half. And then all of a sudden, the game changes. Danilo scores. It wasn't the most beautiful of goals, but you take those in these sort of days. And yeah, afterwards, the next 30 minutes, calm down. No more going for it, and just hoping that maybe you're gonna win the game. But that's just not how you win a game. You have to go for it. If you can get the 2-1, do that. If you can get the 3-1 afterwards, you do that also.
Across the years, and particularly recent years, I've very rarely have I seen a silky Rangers performance at St Mirren, at St Johnstone, at places like that. We've had to grind results out a little bit, and it just frustrates me that you get yourself back into position with, say, 25 minutes to go on and win the game, get the 3 points. I said before the match that I want a Rangers team to play a certain way and something that's pleasing on the eye. But Rangers is about winning games of football. Over the 90 minutes today, we didn't do enough to win the game of football, and we didn't. As you could put 4 or 5 players, and you're not winning a lot of games of football with only 4 or 5 players showing enough, particularly in the final third. And it has a negative on the support, but I'm sure it also has a negative within the dressing room as well, that we now face a game on Sunday at Motherwell, which will be equally problematic if you don't approach it in the right way. You'll get the same results. The same thing will happen if you approach it and you only play for 15-20 minutes of the 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And speaking about approach, where do you think the problem lies primarily? Is it within the players or within the coach, or a bit of mix?
I think there's a combination, to be honest. I think I have been very much jury out on Philippe Clement, but he has shown a bit of adaptability in recent weeks, has pulled out some results, particularly the Europa League, that I didn't think we had in us. He looked as though he was at the start of December. I thought he would do well to see the 2nd of January. You lose a cup final on penalty kicks. You know, poor decisions on the fields. by us not finishing the game, by the VAR team and not awarding us a penalty in extra time. So you've got an element of positivity. So for me, I think there's a combination of, I have my doubts across the manager. He talks a good game. Well, he thinks he likes to talk an awful lot. He has an idea what he wants a Rangers team to do. But we're now 14 months into his tenure as Rangers manager. I don't think we're any better.
No.
I think we've probably regressed. But you go through this rinse and repeat, Redian, that I often say there's so many parallels between Rangers and Manchester United, and that we just keep changing managers, and the next manager comes, and the next manager has to deal with the players that he's inherited. He doesn't want these players, and then you just go on and on and on. But I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you. There isn't a magic pot of gold with 100 million that we can spend, but we should be far, far more competitive. Yeah. Celtic are a distance ahead of us as it stands at this moment in time. But the problem that Michael Beale, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Philip Clement, we haven't been able to beat the other teams. Never mind the fact that our record against Celtic isn't great. We can't go to St Mirren, we can't go to St Johnstone, Ross County, Dundee United, all these sort of teams. This isn't just a Philip Clement problem. There's so many. It's almost cultural. There's so many mistakes across managers, and you get rid of Connor Goldson, you get rid of John Lundstrom, you get rid of Borna Barisic. A lot of people said that they were the problem. A lot of people still say that James Tavernier's the problem. That's another podcast in itself. Yeah. But at what point? I think that's what, to get back to what your original question. There's a combination of factors. The players that we have aren't good enough, mentality-wise and quality-wise, to be able to do what we need to do every 3 days and handle the expectation of what Rangers expect in winning games of football. The manager, as I say, talks a good game, but are the players buying into what he wants? I'm not convinced, despite some elements of progress in recent weeks. So what the answer is, we just have to go to Motherwell on Sunday and we have to win. Anything less than a victory on Sunday, you go into the game on the second. You know, the league title's gone as it stands now. You know, you could basically concede. You're playing for second place now. That's essentially where we're at. And Rangers Football Club, that is not good enough. The Hadji and Bayrami, you should be able to play both of them, but neither of them are a left winger. We have Cortez. This is something I didn't quite understand tonight. We had Oscar Cortez on the bench. I know he's returning after a bad injury. Is he not fit enough to play 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's very weird. It's very weird.
What's the point of having him on the bench? Is there a young player, Zach Lovelace, or somebody who can play on the left-hand side? Is he fitter than Oscar Cortez? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think it's a combination of a lot of things, because first of all, I don't think the manager is getting his tactic right in these sort of games, because, as you say, it's not the first time. We're sounding a bit like broken records here, completely saying this is what's going wrong, this is what's going wrong. But overall, these away games and these games against the smaller teams, if you want to call them that, it just hasn't been good enough. And I haven't been convinced by the football played by the whole team. But also the players. I mean, football is a very simple sport. If you put in the effort, you get something out of it. And I think the immediate solution, you could call it, would be for the players to finally put in some effort over the span of 90 minutes and not just 50 minutes in the second half or a good first half. think it has to be a 90-minute thing. You need some more continuity. You need some more consistency in your game. And yes, we can talk about some players maybe not being good enough, but I just think even with the players not being of a Rangers standard, you should still be good enough to beat the St. Mirrens, the Ross Counties, and the Kilmarnocks easier than what the Rangers have made it the last couple of time. I don't know if the manager being gone is the solution, because, as you say, it's not a new problem. It's been an ongoing thing. But I definitely think the players in general need to up their game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think effort and intensity and tempo gets you a long way. And if you've not, even if you've not got the quality, it's. I'm sorry, I'm just reading this. The pattern continues. It will stay there as long as. It's very hard. It's very hard in a post match to go over it. The fact that there's so many issues, that it isn't just about losing 3 points tonight.
Yeah.
This isn't suddenly a Rangers team that's came off the back of 12 victories on the bounce, and we've suddenly not turned up at Paisley tonight.
No.
It's the same movie so many times. We play for 15, 20 minutes and then just think, we'll no bother going on to win this game. You know,
Yeah.
strike when you're in a position of, we weren't playing silky soccer. We were just moving the ball quicker. We were getting the ball into areas. You were cutting the ball back. It's not I'm not expecting Pep Guardiola's Barcelona to rock up. I don't think you're ever going to see football like that at Rangers. But if you're moving the ball quickly and you're playing with a tempo and an intensity and movement, that should be enough to win 95% of the games in Scottish football.
Exactly.
But we don't do it often enough, and I do get frustrated by the way that we just rely on a long ball. I'll go back to the first half tonight. It's too easy when maybe somebody isn't showing for a pass. We'll just play it long. This is where I get frustrated with the manager. This is where I get frustrated with James Tavernier. He is the captain. He wears the armband. He is the supposed leader of this team. He should be able to influence what's going on the pitch. And I know you can't affect what the rest of your teammates are doing, but it just seems to me that I don't think we have an ingrained way of wanting to play. It's just 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and it has been pretty much that way since Philip Clement came in. We had an element of a 2 to 3 month bounce, and since March to now, it's been very inconsistent. Butland was poor today. I think Jack Butland has been poor for the last 9 months, to be perfectly honest with you. He's made big mistakes, poor judgment, cost us a Scottish Cup final. This isn't the Jack Butland of the first 6 months. The defence in front of him isn't good enough, proper, isn't suited to Scottish football in any way, shape or form. Doesn't look as though he fancies it at all. But for me, I just think we play hopeful football far too often. It's not with there's not a style. It's very much, we'll hope that somebody's going to do something. We'll get the ball to Cherny. He'll cut in on his left foot and he'll ping one in the top corner, or he'll go past his man. There's no patterns of play.
No.
You know, this is meant to be a post-match ready in, but I could probably talk for an hour about all the things that are wrong. And tonight we just highlighted all the things that are wrong with this Rangers team. When we are bad, we are really bad. And tonight was that was the exhibit A of a poor Rangers performance that we've seen far too often, particularly across the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, it's very true. I also think there's a lack of some leaders in the team. I'm not expecting James Tavernier to run the game from right back. That will be very tough. But I'm expecting a guy like Bayrabi, which I've been talking a lot about. I expect him to take more charge in these sort of games because when you're playing against someone in the low block and number 10, he has to excel in that. He has to be able to unlock these teams. I just don't think he's been that good in these smaller games as a number 10, which you really need. I think that's very important for a big team, a championship team, to have these sort of players, the creative players, the attacking players who can unlock teams and, make the game theirs. I think that's been a huge problem. I think leadership in general has been a huge problem. And the bar has to be a lot higher, even on your worst day, than it is at the moment. Because at the moment, any team can get a result when Rangers are playing bad, and that just shouldn't be possible. You should be good enough on your worst day to beat a team like Kilmarnock and Dundee on their best day. That's just how it is if you want to become champions. And at the moment, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, listen, we just have to. When your forwards don't move, Igaman was essentially the only forward striker in the first half. You're playing players that aren't natural strikers. I don't. I hate to be critical of individuals, but he looked as though he was hiding a wee bit for me in the first half. But that's and then he got pulled. He got subbed at half time, and that tells its own story. The manager wasn't happy with his performance.
No.
I think he came with a big reputation, and I'm not hanging him out to dry at all. I was expecting this number 10. He came in and I thought done a reasonable job on the left-hand side, as there was very few options available. We're now in a position where Cortez and Matondo and guys like that are returning. Haji's now been almost favoured to play off that left-hand side. I don't think he's particularly suited to play that there either. No. I think it's interchanging. Yeah. If you have Danilo and Igaman and Haji and Bajrami and Cherny, and they're all moving about and they're causing chaos and confusion, I think we become too predictable when a player is playing on the right and a player is playing on the left and a player is playing in the number 10. All the best teams have, fluidity and flexibility to move about. It's, we just, as I say, we just have to go to Motherwell on Sunday and dig it out. Next couple of days are going to be, as per usual on Rangers social media, after a poor result, it's going to be negative.
Yeah.
But this is a group of players that we've got that's going to get us through the next few months, to be honest with you. I don't think January is going to bring everything that we are going to need, because there's a lot that we still need, and you could upgrade pretty much every position at this moment in time, and that's not going to happen in a January transfer window.
No, that's true. I think it's very limited what can be done at the moment, especially in terms of transfers and stuff like this. I think what needs to be done now is to go to Motherwell and show a reaction. I think the fans need that. The club needs that. I think everyone involved here needs a reaction and needs to see some better football and some more effort, and then see what happens in the new year. You could maybe get a new guy in January, a couple new players, move about a bit. But I think first of all, you need to concentrate on the opponents in front of you and try to get the most out of that. I think that's the only way you can somehow get forward from this. Any final thoughts before we go off here?
No, to be honest, just pretty frustrated. Had such a lovely day yesterday with my family and my kids and all that sort of stuff, and enjoyed Boxing Day football, watching the English games, and Rangers. Rangers always have a habit of spoiling your festivities, but we just have to we just have to get on with it. And as we've both said, dust ourselves down, go to Motherwell on Sunday and win on Sunday. Winning on Sunday isn't going to change. Winning on the 2nd of January isn't going to change all the things that are wrong. But if we are to win on Sunday and then lose on the 2nd of January, to go back to a question earlier about Philip Clement, he needs a result against Celtic.
Yeah.
And I know I said earlier on about looking one game ahead, and right. So I'm talking about if we win on Sunday, Philip Clement must get this Rangers team in a position that we beat Celtic on the 2nd of January, because you cannot be the Rangers manager for 15, 16 months and have one draw and one loss in a cup final to your biggest rivals. That's not good enough. And you change the manager. The manager comes in. You then maybe face Celtic another 2 times in the league. The next manager comes in and you face Celtic in the Scottish Cup. You maybe lose another 3 times to Celtic this season, whether Philip Clement's the manager or whether Pep Guardiola comes in as the manager. You're judged against what happens against Celtic, but a huge part of our problem is we can't beat the bread and butter teams of St Mirren and St Johnstone and all these sort of teams to make the matches against them in any way, shape or form meaningful. But it's frustrating, but it is what it is. We just have to dust ourselves down, go to Sunday and win the game.
Yes, I think you're spot on there. It's a very tough blow, especially in this festive period, but not much to do about it now. We just have to look ahead, see what happens on Sunday, and then take the new year with hopefully a new approach. So yeah, I think that'll be the words for this very raw post-match reaction here. We thank everyone for tuning in, and let's hope for some better results in the future.